Right. Hello, welcome, and good afternoon, everyone. So, welcome, Muhammad Alif and Ahu. So, thank you again for joining our free online lesson. Right. So, my name is Nabi Fikri, and I am an application engineer for MK System. For today's topics, I would like to share with you about the 3D modeling using the Fusion 360. So, the topic for today is Fusion 360 basic modeling. Right. So basically for the 3D modeling, so we're going to create this sample object over here. So we're going to use this as the samples that we're going to create 3D modeling, which is a pump and the motor. So this will involve some of the work such as 2D sectors, some of the solid extrusions, and then we're going to go through the histories and editings, and just to manage some the multiple components. So let me just change into the Fusion. Right, so for example, if you open up your Fusion 360, so you will see an interface that looks something like this. Right away, you can just go to the titles over here, and it will open up the 3D modeling site over here. Or you can also create a new file from here. But I'm gonna go with the title. Then you will see this panel over here. This is the project and the folder panels, which you can create your new projects, or you can create new folders for you to create. So for this case, I'm gonna go with the new project. I'm gonna name this one as a FOL. Right, and inside of this project, I'm gonna create a new folder, and for today's, we're going to model a pump and motor. So I'm gonna name this as a pump. Right, so right from here, we can start creating our pump and the motors from here. Right, so I'm going to use this as a reference. We're gonna start with creating the motors. So for this case, to start, you can see on the Fusion, so we have the 3D modeling tools that you need to that you can use to create a 3D model. So, but before you create a 3D model with using the extrude or revolve, you need to have a 2D sketch first. Then we can extrude from that 2D. So to do that, you can just go to the create sketch from here, and then you can select which of the plane that you want to draw onto. Right, so I'm gonna draw onto this plane over here. And from here, we have several sketching tools. So if you're familiar with the AutoCAD, it's basically on the same. So we have lines, rectangles, circles, and so on. Right. So we don't need the things on the left over here. So I'm going to post this one. Now from here, I can start with creating the cylinders. So I'm going to go with the circles over here. And let's say the cylinder of the motor is around 100 millimeter. And once I have created, I can now select finish sketch. Just send a little bit notes over here that when you create some things on the sketch, make sure you to fully constrain your object. The constraint means is that when you try to move, for example, if I try to and scale this one, you can move, scale is on, meaning it's not yet fully constrained, but on the here over here, it's already fully constrained. So to constrain, make sure you add some the dimensions, make sure that the size cannot be enlarged anymore, but you can still move. So I can add another dimension, let's say the lines, let's say around 80. So the distance between this into this point, which is around 80. So you need to create at the origin point over here. So you need to have a link to the origin points. Only then it will go fully constrained. But this one's still not fully constrained, but we can no longer move left and right because we have input the value of 80 over here. So if I add another one for the height, so let me just okay. So if I add another one for the height, it's around 50. Now you can see my sketches is now become black, meaning it cannot be moved anymore. So if I try to move, I cannot. So that is the definition of fully constrained. It's a good practice to make sure that your sketches is fully constrained, otherwise it will not be break up when you click in the object. So we don't need that, so I'm gonna delete. And to finish sketch, to go back to 3D modeling, you can go click finish sketch over here. There we go. We are now back at solid. So I can just rotate around, and I want to extrude this. So I can just click extrude to convert into 3D, and I can put a distance over here. Or I can also select this arrow to drag it out. So I'm gonna give it around 100, and this will be a new component. So I'm gonna select as a new component, and I can select. Okay, so we already have this cylinder over here, right? So I believe I put around 100s for length, so it's quite small. Let me just increase a bit, 150. So the next thing that I would like to do here is I would like to add this plane over here, this line plane over here. So you can see this plate over here is actually at the middle of this cylinder. So I'm going to create that at the middle of the cylinders. To do that, we can create a sketch at the middle here. In order for you to sketch at the middle, you need to have a plane at the middle. To add the plane, you can go to the constructs over here. So there are many types of plane that you can use from here. So I want to use the one that can cut at the middle. So I'm gonna select mid plane, select this face, and I can select the face over here, and it's creating this plane over here. So meaning right now I can create sketches at this plane. So I can click sketch, you can select this plane over here, and then from here I can start to draw again sketch. So I can start with the rectangles, but to make it much more faster, I can just select rectangles with the center rectangles, and I'm going to draw rectangles from here. Let's say around 180 the length, and the thickness will be around, let's say, 2. So if I try to rotate around, you can see I'm actually drawing at the center of this circle over here. So once I have drawn, now I can just finish sketch, and I'm going to extrude this as a plate. So I can just extrude. Now if I drag it out, you can see it is now extrude. But you must make sure that your operation is actually joined instead of new bodies or cut. So if I select cut, it will create a hole instead. So it will be cutting that instead. So I don't want to cut. So I want this to be part of this cylinder. So I can just select join instead. And I want this to be extruded at both sides. So I can select the direction to be symmetric. So it will be extrude at both sides, around 50 millimeters. So I already have one, which is at the centers of this cylinder. I want to have multiple plates. So for that, I can create a copy by using rectangular patterns. So from here, I can just select, and if I select the body, it will select the entire body. Okay, right? So if I select this plate, it will select the entire body. So I don't want the entire body. I only want this plate over here. So for that case, when you select, make sure to select features. Then you can select this plate only. So it will only select the features that you have before. And then the directions. So you can select the directions using the axis. So I want the direction to be up and down. So I can just select this line over here. So I can select axis, select the line. So it will be up and down according to this axis line over here. You can see if I drop down, so I have 2 more. Right. So the reason why I have 2 more is because of this quantity of axis that I have over here, which is 3. Now I want this to be, say now 9. So I can put the value of 9, and I want to be on both direction. So I'm going to go with the direction over here and select symmetry. Now it's become both direction. Right. Next thing is the extent or spacings. Extent, it will calculate from the middle up until the end So that will be the extents. But if you want to calculate from one line to another line, the distance between these two lines, you can select spacing instead. Right? So for this distance, I'm going to just reduce it around 7. And I hit OK. So I have this plate over here. And this plate is not just straight line over here. So I want to have some round curve cuts. So I can use back sketch and extrude to cut this one. So I can just click sketch front over here, and I can select the circle, creating circles, and it will cut based on the circles that I have right over here. So I'm going to cut, let's say, around 150, and I can select other one, just make sure the outside one. So the inside over here will be serve as a cut. So once I have done that, so finish my sketch, then I can extrude, selecting this area, and I'm going to extrude backwards. Then you can see it's automatically cut for you. This red indicates it is cut, but if you want join, just select join. If selecting the join and you want to cut instead, so just selecting the cuts. So I'm going to cut up until here, and I can press OK. Now it is now cutting this particular plane over here. Right. So next thing is I want to add at the top over here, which is the power source over here. So again, I want to create this at the middle of this cylinder. So instead of doing the mid plane again, what I can do is that I can find back the plane that I have created before on the construction folder over here. So if I drop down, I have this plane, and I can turn this one on. I have this plane that I can use to sketch on. Right, so again, I'm going to select and sketch over there. Then I can select, and I want to start at the middle also. So I'm going to skip these 2-point rectangles, and I'm going to rectangle with the center rectangle. So I can just quickly creating these rectangles. Let's say the distance is around, let's say, 70. And then the height will be around, let's say, 30. And this is the shape that I want. So finish my sketch, and I can now extrude at both sides. So selecting the direction to symmetrics and the operation to join. Right, so I have done that. So I want to add some more. So let me just draw some more at the center of this. So I can select rectangles, center rectangles over here. Just let's say around 50 to 60. Five, and another one at the top. So I can draw again. Let's say I'm going to create a center rectangles. Again, must make again, it's good practice for you to fully constrain, but for my case, I'm just going to go with the not fully constrained step. So 60. Right, just want to speed up the process lah. Right. So I've done a piece of sketch and extrude. And it should have a curve up over here. So I'm gonna create a sketch at the front over here, and then I can select some sketch, and then I can use it as a cutting section. So for this case, I'm just gonna draw some circles at the top over here. Let's say around 170. And then there are some lines right over here. Right, so once I'm done, just make sure that everything is close, the area that you wanted to cut. Then I can finish. Again, you can clear this out by using trim, but for my case, I just to speed up, I'm just going to ignore the trim. Right. So from here, I can just extrude to cut it backwards. So I have this particular shape at the top right here. Another thing that I would like for this object is at the back over here, which is at the motor rail. And so I'm gonna create another cylinders. Let's say around 130. And I can extrude something like this. And then let's say if I want to remove these edges over here, so for this case, there are easier way is that you can go to the modify and then you can use chamfer. So chamfer will cut the straight edges and you will find the result something like this. So let me just increase the value of edges cuts from 150. Okay, so one thing that I want to fix here is that I noticed that my cylinder is a bit long. So in order for you to edit, you can go back to the design history below over here. So the design history, anything that you have created, it will be recorded below over here. So if I select at the end over here, I can also go back and see what I have done previously from here also. So if I wanted to edit, so I can select some of these editing tools. Maybe you want to edit the sketches. I can just double click the sketches over here. And I can edit the size, say around 1 to 5. And the original size will be changed as well. Right? So for this case, I want to reduce this size. So that will be this cylinder extrusion over here. And I want this to be around, let's say, 130. So when I press OK, so you can see it's now reduced, but somehow the top over here is shift a little bit. So the reason why it's shift because I did not apply the fully constraint. So again, it's back practice for it's a good practice for you to fully constrain the object. So let me just fix this one first. So just make it a bit downwards. And this one's right. And then at the end over here, I would like to add some, oops. And over here, I would like to add the shaft holder. So let's say around 17. So let's say this one around 5. And for the shaft holders. Then I can extrude this area size. So I have one object from here. Lastly, I also want to add the leg for this motor over here. So to do that, I would like to add at the centers of these motors. So again, I can turn back on my plane and I can redraw a sketch over here. So over here, I'm going to select center rectangles. And this will be around 120. I can use some lines, some sketches to create the lagging. Now I want to create another line which is perpendicularly with this line. So quicker way is that you can use offset. So this allows you to create same angles with the same length of this line. I want to do at this side as well, then I can create this over here. I can enter the offset value of this. So So I've done that. So it's great. Again, so it's a great practice for you to trim, to clear this, to tidy up. But for this case, I'm just going to skip and just extrude this object over here. Right, so the red is indicated as cut, so I'm going to select join instead. So right now I already have my my motor, right, my engine motors. So I'm going to create the shaft and the pump itself. Now I'm going to create the shaft right now, but for this case, I don't want this shaft to be part of this motor. So for that case, I'm going to select the operation as a new component instead. So I can select as a new component, and I can press K. So it's now becoming a new component. So the component number 1. So I'm going to rename this one as a motor. Component number 2, I'm going to rename this one as a shaft. Okay. So next time I can just turn one off if I don't want to see some of this. So it's become an individual object. Right. So next thing is we'll continue to create the pump itself. So we just create the pump. So just going to create the pump connection at the back over here. So this pump will be a new components, which is a pump. So I'm going to rename this one as a pump. So it's becoming an individual project which is not related to shaft or the motor itself. Right, and then I can just simply continue to create some more of these items. So let me just speed up a little bit over here. And we can continue once I have done some of this important part of it. And now for the main pump area, so this distance will be around 120, 130 step. And the thickness, let's say around 50. Okay, so this is my pump. And there are some of the features that we'll need to add, such as these fillets. So you can see it's smooth over here. So in order to remove this sharp edge, I can use fillet. We already have plated using chamfer before. That will create a straight cut. If you want a round or a curve, you can use fillet instead. You can select these two, and I can input the value. So I'm gonna go with 115 millimeters. Now, okay, I make some mistake over here. This pump is actually this area instead, but for this shaft, this one accidentally become part of this shaft. So when I created before, you must make sure that you create it using the correct, selecting the correct component instead. But for now, I'm just going to continue, or maybe let's say if I can fix this. So over here, this one should be joined with the okay, never mind. But when you're creating some things, for example, if I create some things over here, when you want to extrude, you must make sure to select which is the correct item that you want. So currently it's become transparent, which is this one and this one over here. Meaning if I want this to be part of this palm, I can just click at the palm over here. Now it's becoming part of this palm. Right, but for now, let's just proceed. So I want to create, oops, sorry about that. Okay, so I want to create this hole over here. So for that case, I can create something at the middle of this palm over here. So in order to create something at middle, so again, we can use the plane. So previously we have used the construction for the mid planes. I want to cut at the middle over here also, but not between two flat edge. So in order to do that, I can use plane at angles and I can select angle at the center over here. So for this case, I'm gonna add axis first. So I have the centers. So I have this axis, and then I can add the plane at angles. So I can select this line over here. Now I have this plane at the middle over here, which I can now create a sketch at the center over here. So right now, what I created instead is actually I'm creating inside of this palm over here. Right, so you can see it's putting inside of this palm, but I still see the rest of this at the top over here. So if you want to unsee this top view over here, you can select slice instead. So when I click slice, it will cut this into the area that you are sketching. Right, so currently I'm sketching at this area, so it will cut up until that point. So let me just delete this. Now I want to create a sketch at this area over here. So for that case, I can select rectangles with the center rectangles, or maybe I can just select the 2 points and I can select, just make sure that I have connected to this point instead. But if I have a difficulty to snap at the line, so in order to do that, you can go into the create project and you can select project. So it will project this as a line. So you can easily use this as a line to sketch. Right? So I can now use the rectangle and I can snap at the point. Say this one is around 50 as well. And I want to give a fillet. So I can just select the edges, the points, and these edges will be around 50. So I have done that. Now I also wanted to use these sketches. So if you don't see, let me just turn off the shaft. So I also still want to reuse back the sketches. You can also copy the sketch. So I'm gonna select and right click, I'm gonna copy. And I can reuse back the sketch at a different plane. So let me just open back my shaft. So we have done here. So I can just finish. Then I'm going to create another sketch at different plane. So for this case, I wanted to create some planes just a little bit higher right over here. So for that case, I can use this as a reference. From the construction, I can select offset plane. I can select this plane as a reference. Then I can select the height from this plane. Right, so let's say this is the height that I want. So I can just press OK. And then I can select to sketch at this plane. Right now, I'm currently sketching at this plane. Right. So, but I don't want to sketch over here yet. I want to extrude this one first. So let me just extrude. So extrude this, let's say around 20, and extrude as a joint. So it will extrude up until, let's say 25. And press OK. Then I want to redo that, which is at the plane number 3. So I can just sketch plane number 3. And I can right click and oops, I can just right click and paste. Okay, so for some reason it's paste at the top over here. So you just move it. Right, so you can use this arrow to move, or you can also rotate if you want. But you can see it's easier. It's easy to use the sketch over here. Now I want this line to be matching the same as this. So for that case, I can press OK, and then I can select the constraints to make sure the line collinear, this line with these edges over here at the bottom over here. Okay, let me just and here, right? So it become symmetrical. Okay, so for these edges, I still want to move a little bit. So we just move somewhere around here. Okay. And then I want to add some more planes. Again, I can just go to the construction and selecting this plane and up a little bit some more, let's say around this area. Also want to draw a this plane as well. And paste the sketches before over here. I'm going to set collinear just to make sure it's solve this. Lastly, I want to add some more at the top over here. Create another plane at the top. So I can use this plane to create 3D by using loft. So on this. Right, this time I want this to be a little bit smaller, so I can also edit my sketches over here. So this one I want to be around 40. And the height also 40 as well. And to move, I can just go to the modify and move to move back my sketch somewhere around here. So let me just add, let's say around 5 and finish. So we already have multiple line over here. So from here, I can just turn off first the shaft, and I'm going to use this line as an extrusion. I can select loft, and I can select this face, and I can extrude to this face, and I can extrude to this face. So once I'm done that, I can use this as a reference system. Okay, I believe I missed one place, which is at this area over here. So let me just create a sketch at this area. And then this will be collinear with this line over here, and this line will be collinear to this line over here. Right. So let me just turn back off the shaft instead, and I can re-loft this like. And you can see it will connecting the plane to another plane into a 3D object. So I have done this. I can just turn back on the shaft. So it's becoming something like this. So right now I want this to be a one object instead of two different objects like here. So in order to combine, we can go to the modify and select combine. You can select and combine these two objects over here. So the reason why it's become, I cannot combine these two together, is because I believe I have created on different component instead. So let me just reload again. And then this time is, I want this as a, so let me just select as a join instead, okay? Okay, I believe this one is joining at the different board. This one is a, I'm not sure which is. So, okay, right, it's creating as a different body instead. So let me just create this as a component. And let me just try again to join these two. Okay, right, so never mind. So let's just proceed. So for this case, I can just continue to create top of here, maybe just projecting the lines. Okay, then I can just reuse back these sketches, so I don't need to create a new sketch for it. Right, so this one I just roughly created. So if you like to try, you can create a better looking one, but in this case, I'm just going to speed up a bit. And for the last one, I would like to create at the front over here, which is also the, I believe, the intake for the pump, right? Which is at the front over here. So for this case, so we can easily create it using revolve instead. So again, I'm going to create sketches at the planes that which is I have created before, which is this plane. So I can just turn this plane on, and I can draw this plane. But again, this is interfering with my view, so I can just slice, and then from here I can just create a line, and I should have something like this. Right, so once I have done that, I can use revolve to basically revolve the sketch, and I want to revolve around this axis. I can just select this axis, and then it will revolve with this axis. So I have something like this. Right, so if I want to change, I want to edit the view, so I can just double click to edit back the view of this item. Maybe I want to make it a little bit bigger. I can just select the creative from here. So I have this intake. Right, so same again, same process. If I want to create a fit, so I can just use the middle point, and then I can just project the geometry and creating the fit. But since we are already almost complete, so I believe we can just stop from here. Right. So thank you everyone for joining our free online lesson. So for now, I will open up for the Q&A session. So if you have any question, you can just ask me the question. Some of the things that you would like to know about the Fusion 360. Right. So any question that you'd like to ask so far? All right. So I believe no questions so far. So if not, then we can stop on here. So thank you everyone for joining this free online lesson. So I hope I can see you guys again on our next free lesson. So thank you for joining. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.